I see it same thing every day now. Creators dropping videos with a title or thumbnail saying gaming's dying, or a tweet goes viral saying we're heading for a crash, and comment sections full of people panicking like it's 1983 all over again and Atari's about to bury cartridges in a landfill somewhere in New Mexico. And look, I get it. I do. If all you're seeing is headlines, it does look bleak. But most of the people screaming about a crash have absolutely no idea what actually made 1983 crash so catastrophic and why what's happening right now ain't the same thing. It's a distinction that matters. And if you don't understand it, you're going to draw wrong conclusions and panic over wrong things. Alright, you lot. If you hear noise in background, we're having some work done. And they're quite noisy. I'll try and edit out what I can, but if it does get through, I apologise in advance. But here's bit nobody's going to argue with, because evidence is so fucking overwhelming at this point that even most die-hard corporate apologists would struggle to spin it. AAA gaming, as it currently exists, is in serious trouble. And I don't mean, a couple of studios had a rough quarter. I mean, real foundations are cracked fucking trouble. Most immediate carnage is landing on Xbox, because Microsoft's set to begin what George Broussard has called potentially largest single layoff event in gaming history. 5 studios are on chopping block: Arcane Leon, Compulsion Games, Double Fine, Ninja Theory, and Undead Labs. That's according to Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, Verge's Tom Warren, and multiple corroborating sources, all pointing at July 6th as start date. And reason's simple. Xbox is running at a 3% profit margin. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella demands 30% from every division. Xbox head Asher Sharma put out a memo saying studio system has become overextended and needs to be reassessed, which is corporate speak for, we bought too many studios with no plan and now we're gutting them. And what makes it more disgusting is that these studios have some decent games in active development. Undead Labs has State of Decay 3. Arcane has Marvel's Blade. These aren't failing studios. They were just set up to fail by a corporate structure that treated Game Pass as a content furnace and then acted surprised when wood ran out. When a first-party game launches day one on Game Pass, players access it through their subscription instead of buying it at full price. That lost retail revenue don't get charged against Game Pass profit and loss statement. So first-party studios can have millions of players engaging with their games and still look commercially underperforming on paper. Compulsion Games launched South of Midnight to over 1 million players, yet face shutdown anyway. And not from a studio management problem. It's an accounting shell game where people making content never had a fucking chance. And crazy part about that is if you look at third-party studios, ones that have released day one on Game Pass in past, they've seen fantastic sales figures. Across board, including Xbox. Because players know that game could disappear at any time. But first-party games will stay. And it's not just Xbox. Because Sony's staring down the barrel of a PS6 that might cost over £1,000. Bill of materials jumped from roughly $760 to $960 in space of a few months, driven almost entirely by RAM prices being eaten alive by data center demand. PS5 already crept up to $650 for base model. Xbox Series X is going to $800 from August. Valve's Steam Machine is launching at over $1,000 when they'd originally been targeting $750. Every major hardware manufacturer is getting squeezed by the same problem, which is that data centers are overing up global memory supply like it's going out of fashion, and consumer electronics is fighting off at scraps. And now Sony's officially announced that physical disc production for all new PlayStation games will end January 2028. Every new game will be digital only. They're dressing it up as adapting to consumer trends. But let's call it what it actually is. Sony's removing last purchase method that don't require you to have an internet connection and hand over your bank details to a multi-billion-pound corporation. They're killing a format where you actually own the thing you bought. GTA 6, which is supposed to be the biggest game launch in history, already set tone by shipping its physical edition with no but a download code in box. No disc, Just a bit of cardboard and a string of characters for $100. And Sony's also deleting 550 purchased films from people's digital libraries because a licensing deal with Studio Canal expired. So pitch is, stop buying physical, trust us with your digital, also we can take your digital purchases away whenever we feel like it. Genuinely inspiring stuff. But I digress. Gaming industries shed an estimated 45,000 jobs between 2022 and mid-2025. 1 in 3 American game developers has been laid off in past 2 years, according to GDC's State of Industry report. Brenda Romero, who was there for 1983 crash herself, said in March that current situation is definitely crashier. And she's not wrong about severity, but she is, I think, making the same mistake a lot of people are making. This word crash carries a very specific historical meaning, and if you're going to invoke it, you need to understand what it actually looked like. See, in 1983, North American video games market went from $3.2 billion in revenue to roughly $100 million by 1985. Retailers physically refused to stock video game products. Industry analysts declared gaming a dead fad no different to pet rocks. Dozens of companies went bankrupt, and the reason it was so catastrophic wasn't just that Atari made shit games, it was because Atari essentially warped market. When Atari collapsed, there was nowhere else to go. Consumers couldn't buy games even if they wanted to, because infrastructure that delivered games to people were owned by companies that were failing. And that's bit every person comparing 2026 to 1983 is getting wrong. Because today, infrastructure that delivers games to people is completely independent of companies that are struggling. If Microsoft shut down Xbox tomorrow, and Sony pulled plug on PlayStation, and every single AAA publisher simultaneously combusted, gaming would still be there. Let me throw some numbers at you, because I know how you lot like receipts. Global PC market is valued at $96.69 billion in 2026. Steam hit 42 million simultaneous users in January this year, with 147 million monthly active users. Newzoo, industry's data partner, projects that PC game revenue will overtake console revenue entirely by 2028. At current growth rates, PC is pulling away from console, not falling with it. A Newzoo's 2026 report found that on PC, games outside top 20 now account for 56% of all spending. More games are holding significant player time instead of a handful of blockbusters taking everything. In 2022, 80% of PC player time was spread across 52 games. And in 2025, that same 80% was spread across 79 games. That means markets diversifying, which is a good thing. Now bringing indie numbers. This is where crash narrative really falls apart. Indie games market hit $5.54 billion in 2026, growing at 14.32% annually. And for context, AAA and AA PC revenues have been growing at about 8% of that same period. So indie games now account for 48% of all full game revenue on Steam, and 58% of all copies sold. People making games with small teams, sensible budgets, and actual creative vision are eating lunch at bloated corporate studios that spend 8 years and $200 million making something painfully average. Then, back in March, Linux hit 5.33% of Steam's user base for the first time, an all-time high. That's roughly 7 million gamers on Linux through Steam alone. In 2024, it were only 2%, and it's more than doubled in under 2 years. 106,000 of Steam's roughly 117,000 games now run on Linux through Proton. Valve Steam machines launch it. SteamOS is being positioned as a genuine consumer operating system. And the reason this matters in crash conversation is that Linux represents infrastructure that is completely outside corporate control. Nobody can put a plug on it, rate price for it, or decide your games don't exist on it anymore. It's open source and belongs to everyone. Now, before anyone pipes up with, but Linux is still only 5%, think about what 5% or 147 million monthly active users actually looks like in raw numbers. And remember, that growth trajectory ain't slowed down. Windows 10 hit end of life in October 2025, and every month more people are looking at alternatives. Steam Deck turned Linux gaming from a hobbyist project into a consumer appliance. Kernel itself is now integrating Windows gaming APIs at a native level through things like NT-Sync, which means performance gap is closing from operating system level up, not just compatibility layer. But there's platform that everybody in traditional gaming space loves to ignore, which is mobile. There's currently around 3 billion active users. That's 83% of all gamers worldwide play on a mobile device. Mobile gaming generated $103 billion in 2025, which is more than console and PC combined. And it ain't slowing down. We're projected it to $132 billion in 2026. Africa has almost no console infrastructure at all. It's fastest growing gaming region on planet right now, and it's entirely mobile driven. Indonesia has 96% mobile gaming preference. These markets are bypassing consoles entirely and going straight to phones and tablets, which means they were never dependent on corporate structures that are currently imploding, and they never will be. So when you hear someone say, gaming's heading for a crash, you've got to ask which gaming. Because yeah, AAA's fucked. Bloated corporate layer that spent last decade acquiring studios, underpaying developers, chasing live service fantasies, and extracting shareholder value instead of making good games. That part of industry is heading for a wall, and it deserves to hit it. But gaming as a medium has never been more widely played, more accessible, more diverse in what's available, or more structurally resilient than it is right now. And there's real people who'll get hurt by decisions like Sony killing physical. I've got a mate who only plays physical PlayStation games, because he only plays offline single-player titles. So basically, Sony just told him to fuck off. There's a demographic of people who'll simply stop buying, and Sony will lose them. Then think about Grandma who goes to shop every Christmas, picks up a game for little Timmy, wraps it up, puts it under the tree. What does she do now? Buy a gift card? Sure, for as long as Sony decides gift cards are worth producing. And what happens when they go too? What if mum and dad are proper parents with decent security sense and don't want to punch the card details into a corporate storefront? We've already heard Valve's answer, and now Sony's taking that same stance by getting rid of physical games. They're actively shrinking their own addressable market and calling it progress. And yeah, PlayStation do still sell physical gift cards, for now. But even if Sony goes fully digital and loses a chunk of its audience in process, gaming don't die. Those players will keep playing their existing physical libraries on consoles they already own. Your N64 cartridges still work. PS2 discs still work. Your retro collection don't need a server to function. Don't need corporations' permission to exist. New stuff might be locked behind digital storefronts, but old stuff is yours forever, as long as you look after it. And for rest of us who do play digital games, we'll still have indie studios to support. It might not be on console if they decide to die, but there's still PC and mobile devices, both of which I play. In fact, I probably play more mobile these days than I do PC, because it's there all the time, and I can enjoy 20 minutes on a good game while sitting on train. Gaming almost died in 1983 because infrastructure, consoles, and distribution were a problem. Today, infrastructure's fine, because PC's growing, mobile's dominant, and indie's not just thriving, it's growing. Fast. Only things dying are parasitic corporate structures that attach themselves to gaming and try to extract every last penny from it while getting less and less back. And I'll gladly say good riddance to them. Creators have tools, platforms, and audience. They don't need a publisher taking 30% for privilege or existing, or a console manufacturer charging $1,000 for hardware that's worth half that, or a CEO who thinks problem is that games aren't monetized enough. Crash is happening, but it's purely a financial one, and it's not for you to worry about. Gaming's going to be absolutely fine without companies that caused it. If you like this video, YouTube says you'll like this and next. So go check that out, and I'll see you there, you magnificent.